What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 4 of KJ's Corner. I'm the host, KJ Canyon, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my NBA playoff predictions for this year's season.
I'm watching this Brooklyn team this year.
Beautiful brotherly connection.
They look legit. I think everybody knew that Chris Paul would make them better, but they look like a legit contender.
You got to go right at him.
On an island. Slam it down. Across.
Nice job, Giannis. He pitch, Saric. And hammers that down.
All right, y'all, so let's get into it. So this year's NBA playoffs is going to be a little different. And the reason for that is because the top 6 seeds from each conference are guaranteed the playoff spot. Like, once the season is over, if you're in the top 6, you're automatically in. But if you are a 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th seed, you're gonna have to compete in the play-in. And the play-in is they got the 7th seed versus the 8th seed, and then the 9th seed versus the 10th seed. They have a play-in tournament to see who's gonna be facing the number 1 seed and then the number 2 seed. So whoever wins out of those two play-in games on both sides of the conference, they will be in the playoffs no matter whether they say, for instance, the 8th seed beats the 7th seed and then the 10th seed beats the 9th seed. Those 2 teams will be in the playoffs and the other 2 will be going home. So the playoffs are going to look a little different this year, but I'm going to show y'all the standings right now, and then we're going to kind of talk about like who's looking good right now and looking like they're going to have a shot at the playoffs or whatever. So yeah. Okay, we're going to start off with the Eastern Conference. So you see here, Brooklyn Nets are the number 1 seed at 41-20. The 76ers are the 2nd seed at 41-21. The Bucks, the 3rd seed, 37-23. The Knicks are 4th at 34-28. The Hawks are 5th at 34-28 also. And then the Celtics are 32-29 at the 6th seed. So if the playoffs were to start today, these 6 teams right here would automatically be in. But then you have the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th seeds who have to compete in the play-in tournament. And those teams right now would be the Miami Heat at 32-30. They're sitting at the 7th seed. The Hornets are at the 8th seed at 30-30. And then the Pacers are 29-31 with the 9th seed. And then the Wizards are 27-34 at the 10th seed. So but the Bulls and the Raptors still have a chance to get to the 10th or 9th seed if they win out and Washington or Indiana loses some more games. But if not, then this is going to be the playoffs. You're going to have these 4 teams in play-in, and these 6 are automatically.
That's 2.
And here we go. Woo! That is something.
Now we're going to look at the Western Conference. So you see the Utah Jazz. That X right there, that means they've already clinched the playoffs. So they just got to win out if they want to keep the number 1 seed. But they're 44-17 with the number 1 seed right now. The Phoenix Suns are 2nd place with 43-18. The Clippers are in 3rd place with 43-20. The Denver Nuggets are 4th at 40-21. The Lakers are 5th at 36-25. The Mavericks are 6th at 33-27. So right now, these 6 teams are guaranteed into the playoffs if they continue to stay where they're at. But the Trailblazers, the Grizzlies, the Spurs, and the Warriors are the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th seeds. The Trailblazers are 7th at 32-28. The Grizzlies are 8th at 31-29. The Spurs are 9th at 31-29. And then the Warriors are 10th at 31-30. These 4 teams are looking like they're going to be the play-in teams, but the Pelicans and the Sacramento Kings are not numerically ruled out of it, but they have not been playing well, so they're probably not going to make it. But theoretically, they still have a shot. Okay, now that you guys have seen the standings, now it's time for me to give y'all my prediction. All right, so with the Eastern Conference, I'm going to predict that the Brooklyn Nets or the Philadelphia 76ers finish with the 1 and 2 seeds. It could be flip-flopped or whatever. But I think Philadelphia end up with the number 1 seed. Brooklyn will end up with a 2 seed. Milwaukee's going to stay at 3. I think the Hawks will end up at 4th. I think the Knicks will end up at 5th, and then the Boston Celtics, I think they'll end up at 7th, and then the Heat will end up in 6th. With the play-in, I think this is basically going to stay the same. I just think that the 7 and 6 seed will flip-flop. And then I'm going to go with the 7th seed over the 8th seed for the play-in. And then the 10th seed over the 9th seed for the play-in. So in the playoffs, it'll look like Brooklyn versus Washington, Philadelphia versus the Celtics, and then Milwaukee versus Miami, and the Hawks versus the Knicks.
Booker against Mitchell, a couple of all-stars.
And in the Western Conference, I think the number 1 seed is either going to come down to the Jazz or the Suns. And so these two teams are going to have those 2 seeds locked up. I think the Clippers are going to stay at 3. I think Denver, once LeBron comes back, I think the Lakers will move up to 4 and Denver will fall to 5. And then I think the Mavericks and the Trailblazers will flip-flop. So Portland will be the 6th seed and Dallas will be the 7th seed. And I don't think the Pelicans or the Kings are going to get a shot at the play-in. So I feel like these are going to stay the same. So I'm going to pick I think the Warriors can beat the Spurs to get into the playoffs for the play-in. And then I think the Mavericks are better than the Grizzlies, so they'll probably win the 7th versus 8th seed. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this episode. Make sure to tune in for the next one next week.